Jake Paul is calling it quits on influencer boxing. But why now? And what's this game-changing announcement from MVP that has everyone talking? In this video, we'll dive into Jake Paul's boxing journey, from shaking up the sport with his viral knockouts to becoming one of the most talked about figures in the ring. MVP's announcement could change the game in ways you might not expect. Whether it's a pivot to professional boxing, a new promotional focus, or something entirely different, it's clear Jake and his team have big plans ahead. Stick around as we uncover the reasons behind Jake Paul's retirement and what's next for both him and the world of boxing. If you've been following his journey, you won't want to miss this. Hit subscribe and stay tuned for more updates. You're not going to want to miss what's coming next. For years, Jake Paul has been a divisive figure in the boxing world. Many traditionalists labeled him as an influencer boxer who was in it solely for the money, dismissing his skills and credibility. Despite the criticism, Paul garnered massive attention, delivering shocking knockouts and pushing boxing into mainstream conversations. His victories, such as his one-round technical knockout over fellow influencer Ali Louis Al-Fakhri, Anderson Gibb, in 2020, showcased his ability to dominate the influencer boxing circuit. Yet this success may have also limited how seriously the broader boxing community viewed him. Recently, Jake's former opponent, Anderson Gibb, achieved a significant milestone by becoming the Misfits boxing middleweight champion. Gibb's declaration that he is now the best fighter in influencer boxing added a fresh layer of competition to the scene. However, Jake's response to this moment revealed a lot about his mindset. Posting highlights of his past victories, including his swift win over Gibb, Paul appeared to assert his dominance in the influencer world one final time, perhaps signaling his readiness to leave that chapter behind. In addition to his dominance in the influencer scene, Jake Paul's retirement is likely influenced by his ambitions to be recognized as a legitimate boxer. His transition from fighting influencers to challenging professional fighters like Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, and even discussions about potential matches with established names such as Canelo Alvarez shows his desire to step into a different tier of competition. For Paul, staying in influencer boxing might feel like revisiting past accomplishments rather than progressing forward. Another key element is the growth of his promotional company, Most Valuable Promotions, MVP. Paul's role as a promoter has allowed him to elevate other fighters and expand his influence in the combat sports industry. One focused more on shaping the future of boxing than competing against influencers. Finally, stepping away could also be about preserving his legacy. Jake Paul is aware of his polarizing image and the importance of leaving on a high note. By retiring while still at the peak of his influencer boxing fame, he controls the narrative and avoids potential pitfalls that could tarnish his record or diminish his influence. MVP's major announcement that Jake Paul is officially retired from influencer boxing represents a pivotal moment in Paul's career and sheds light on his strategic move away from the scene. The announcement not only closes the chapter on his short but impactful influencer boxing career, but also underscores his evolving role in the sport. Jake's decision to retire from this space had been a long time coming. Despite not officially confirming his retirement until now, Paul had already shifted focus to professional boxing after his second influencer match in 2020. His fights against former NBA player Nate Robinson and fellow YouTuber Anderson Gibb showcased his knockout power, but it was clear that his ambitions stretched beyond the confines of influencer boxing. Paul has also voiced his criticism of the influencer boxing scene, which he sees as stagnating. In a recent interview, he highlighted how many participants lack serious skill development, resulting in fights that appear sloppy and unprofessional. According to Paul, the audience is now demanding more polished and higher-level competition. By retiring from the influencer boxing circuit, Paul not only distances himself from its limitations, but also aligns with his goal of elevating the overall quality of boxing entertainment. Interestingly, the timing of the announcement also coincides with the rise of other influencers like Anderson Gibb, who have claimed the spotlight in influencer boxing. MVP's statement acknowledged Gibb as the current best in the scene, a nod that further solidifies Jake's exit from the space. Paul's retirement underscores his belief that influencer boxing needs him more than he needs it. Jake Paul's retirement from influencer boxing doesn't signal an end to his combat sports journey. It's more of a pivot toward bigger challenges and a broader role in the industry. While influencer boxing gave Paul the platform to transition from social media star to professional fighter, he appears to be looking beyond that space, setting his sights on more ambitious goals within the combat sports world. One of the most talked about possibilities is a potential matchup between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez. This fight, if it ever materializes, would represent a massive leap for Paul. However, UFC President Dana White, a vocal critic of Paul's boxing career, has dismissed the feasibility of this fight, claiming that it would end quickly in Canelo's favor. White's critique highlights the stark difference in skill and experience between Paul and a fighter of Canelo's caliber, but it also emphasizes the promotional appeal of such a matchup. Canelo could earn a massive payday and Paul would gain unparalleled exposure. Jake's journey in the combat sports world isn't just about in-ring achievements, it's also about shaping his legacy as a disruptor and innovator. He's already used his platform to challenge industry norms, notably calling out Dana White over fighter pay in the UFC. His criticism has sparked broader discussions about fairness and compensation in combat sports, positioning Paul as more than just a competitor. He's become a voice for change. However, Paul's next moves remain uncertain. His rivalry with Dana White has fueled speculation about a future in MMA, particularly since his brother Logan Paul recently signed with the UFC. Could Jake follow suit, stepping into the octagon to expand his influence further? While there's no concrete evidence of this yet, Paul's penchant for surprise and his history of taking bold steps make the idea plausible. Dana White's dismissive stance on a fight between Paul and Canelo hasn't deterred Jake's ambitions. If anything, it's likely to motivate him further. Paul thrives on proving doubters wrong, and whether it's through boxing, MMA, or as a promoter, he's not likely to fade into the background. Jake Paul's retirement from influencer boxing marks the end of one chapter and the start of something much bigger. Whether it's a shot at fighting Canelo, stepping into MMA, or shaking up the industry as a promoter, Jake isn't slowing down anytime soon. Love him or hate him, you can't deny he knows how to keep the world watching. So, what's next for the problem child? Bigger fights, bold moves in MMA, or will he focus on building his empire behind the scenes? One thing's for sure, it's going to be exciting to see what he does next. What do you think of Jake Paul's decision to retire from influencer boxing? Is this his way of proving to critics that he's maturing and will now focus solely on serious professional matchups? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates. This is just the beginning.